Hello, good morning again. I'm back. I will start my timer. So, just started my timer, and I don't know. Um, I'm trying to cultivate a heart that is prepared to accept anything. I mean, anything. Anyways, I just got news that my brother is lost again, and my mother has relapsed. Mental health is incredibly challenging, and when you have um, multiple people dealing with chronic mental illness, is incredibly tough to manage. So, as well as managing my profession. I'm trying to remain um, as calm as possible because um, it's feel like I've been in crisis forever. So, um, trying to um, read again. My experience is that money and transactions purify relationships. Ideas and abstract matters like recognition and credit warp them, creating an atmosphere of perpetual rivalry. I grew to find people greedy for credentials, nauseating and repulsive and trustworthy. Commerce, business, Levantine souks, though not large-scale markets and corporations, are activities and places that bring out the best in people, making most of them forgiving, honest, loving, trusting, and open-minded. As a member of the Christian minority in the Near East, I can vouch that commerce, particularly small commerce, is the door to the tolerance, the only door, in my opinion, to any form of tolerance. It beats rationalizations and lectures. Like antifragile tinkering, mistakes small and rapidly forgotten. I want to be happy to be human and be in an environment in which other people are in love with their faith and never until my brush with academia did I think that that environment was a certain form of commerce combined with solitary scholarship. The biologist, writer, and libertarian economist Matt Ridley made me feel that it was truly the Phoenician trader in me, or more exactly, the Canaanite that was the intellectual. V. Organization. Antifragile is composed of 7 books and notes section. Why books? The novelist and essayist Rolf Dobelli's first reaction upon reading my ethics and Via Negativa chapters, which I supplied separately, was that each should be a separate book and published as a short or medium length essay. Someone in the business of summarizing books would have to write 4 or 5 separate descriptions, but I saw that they were not standalone essays at all. It deals with the applications of a central idea, going either deeper or into different territories evolution, politics, business, innovation, scientific discovery, economics, ethics, epistemology, and general philosophy. So I call them books rather than sections or parts. Books to me are not expanded journal articles, but reading experiences. And the academics who tend to read in order to cite in their writing rather than read for enjoyment, curiosity, or simply because they like to read tend to tend to be frustrated when they can't rapidly scan the text and summarize it in one sentence that connects it to some existing discourse in which they have been involved. Further, the essay is polar opposite of the textbook, mixing autographical massings and parables with more philosophical and scientific investigations. I write about probability with my entire soul and my entire experiences in the risk taking business. I write with my scars, hence my thought is inseparable from autobiography. The personal essay form is a ideal for the topic of incertitude. The sequence is as follows. The appendix to this prologue represents the triad as a table, a comprehensive map of the world along the fragility spectrum. Book 1, The Antifragile, an introduction, presents the new property and discusses evolution and the organic as the typical antifragile system. It also looks at the trade off between the antifragility of the collective and the fragility of the individual. Book 2, Modernity and the Denial of Antifragility, describes what happens when we starve systems, mostly political systems, of volatility. It discusses this invention called the nation state, as well as the idea of harm done by healer, someone who tries to help you and ends up harming you very badly. Book 3, A Non Predictive View of the World, introduces Fat Tony and his intuitive detection of fragility and presents the foundation asymmetry of things grounded in the writings of Seneca, the Roman philosopher and doer. Book 4, The Optionality, Technology, and Intelligence of Antifragility, presents the mysterious property of the world by which a sudden asymmetry is behind things rather than human intelligence, and how optionality drove us here. It is opposed to what I call the Soviet Harvard method, and Fatoni argues with Socrates about how we do things one cannot quite explain. Book 5, The Nonlinear and the Nonlinear. 6. Um, Sikh is about the philosopher's stone and its opposite, how to turn the lead into gold and gold into lead. Two chapters constitute the central technical section, the plumbing of the book, mapping fragility as nonlinearity, more specifically convexity effects, and showing the edge coming from a certain class of convex strategies. Book 6, Via Negativa, shows the wisdom and effectiveness of subtraction over addition, acts of omission over acts of commission. This section introduces the notion of convexity effects. Of course, the first application is to medicine. I look at medicine only from an epistemological risk management approach, and it looks different from there. Book 7, The Ethics of Fragility and the Antifragility, grounds ethics in transfer of fragility, with one party getting the benefits and the other one the harm, points out problems arising from absence of skin in the game. The end of the book consists of graphs, notes, and a technical appendix. The book is written at three levels. First, the literary and philosophical, with parables and illustrations, but minimal, if any, technical arguments, except in Book 5, The Philosopher's Stone, which represents the convexity arguments. Enlightened reader is invited to skip Book 5 as the ideas are distilled elsewhere. Second, the appendix with graphs and more technical discussion, but no elaborate derivations. Third, the backup material with more elaborate arguments, all in the form of technical papers and notes. Don't mistake my illustrations and parables for proof. Remember, a personal essay is not a scientific document, but a scientific document is a scientific document. All these book backup documents are gathered as a freely available electronic technical companion outside of casinos and some narrowly defined areas such as man-made situations and constructions. Hayek did not take his idea about organic price formation into risk and fragility. For Hayek, bureaucrats were inefficient, non-fragilists. This discussion starts with fragility and anti-fragility and gets us as a side discussion into organic price formation. The technical term I used for Head's volatility was short vega or short gamma, meaning harm should volatility increase, and long vega or long gamma for things that benefit. In the rest of the book, we'll use um, short and long to describe negative and positive exposures respectively. It is critical that I never believed in our ability to focus at volatility, as I just focus on how things react to it. Once again, please not it is not resilience. I'm not I'm used to facing at the end of conference lecture the question, so what is the difference between robust and anti-fragile, or the more enlightened and even more irritating anti-fragile is resilient? No, the reaction to my answer is usually, ah, with the look. Why didn't you say that before? Of course, I had said that before. Even the initial referee of the scientific article I wrote on defining and detecting antifragility entirely missed the point. Let me mark. My timer has ended. In this chapter, Taleb actually talks about the organization of the book, which is I'm reading the book Anti-Fragile by Nassim Nicholas Taleb, and as we read, it's mostly about he talks about implementation, and one thing I clearly agree with that rather than people who have higher education or like I would say bigger degrees or in in language people like educated powers um, are not that much um, like good in human behaviors than people who are doing small commerce like selling peanuts in the streets or selling grocery in the street, and I find them more easier to connect because um, their small commerce have developed enormous amount of humility in them, and I feel really uncomfortable being with educated people, like when they're gonna ask me the next question like what was your CGPA, or what how much money you make right now, which both of them are very uncomfortable questions and been asked very regularly. Um, and Taleb writes about like how he writes. He doesn't want uh, to let other people to summarize the book, and every chapter he considers as a different book, like the introduction and implications of the idea anti-fragility in every domain. So he talks about and in the last para, like there's been a very common term resilience, which is like um, uh, who or any people who gets the shock and um, remains the same, but there's strong difference with anti-fragile as that who gets the shock and becomes better with the shock, like every shock he gets makes him more um like in the love of Eros. He is more prone to challenge him with those consequences and come back very stronger. So that's what I had for today. Thank you for listening.